All right, good evening. How's everybody doing? It's that time again. It's Thursday. It is the last Thursday of the month, and we are here for Heritage Homeschool, okay? Your learning should start at home. It definitely should. And we are in a very interesting time right now in our nation, in the world, maybe where you are locally. But something very important that you should be learning is something that you should learn at home. And it is about politics. So we're having a class this evening, Politics 101. We're letting you know that your voice matters, right? It's Heritage Homeschool with Senator Maggie Glover. Let's bring her right on in here with us. How are you, Senator?
Well, hello, everybody, and to our gracious host. How are you doing?
Well, you're calling me the host, but you are the host. I'm just here pushing some buttons. I'm just introducing you, and I just have to let you do what you do,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, while I love this young lady, please understand, I do this because of her efforts and her service to our community. If she didn't push the buttons and she didn't open up her home, Maggie would be over in West Florence, sitting on the sofa about this time. So, yes, ma'am, she is graciously serving her community, meaning hosting right here and right now. She may not want to call it that, but that's what it is.
I tell you what, I mean, I have the honor to be able to do this. I've got my co-producer back here behind the scenes who never wants to be on camera.
Right. How well I know.
Right. Miss Shalonda D. So, it's important for us to do this because to know who you are, to know your heritage is so very important. And there's just a whole lot of lessons that we look to bring with this particular series. And we've got quite a few things that'll be coming up in the future, but we cannot ignore that we are in a political season. So for us to have the opportunity to talk to one of our community leaders, our state leaders, it would not be right if we did not have a discussion about it. In fact, on one of my podcasts, I was having a conversation about politics and I was asking the question, like, why is it that people always feel like you can't talk about politics and you can't talk about religion? And I feel like you absolutely can and you absolutely should. I know you've heard that before. Where do you think that comes from?
Honestly, like you, it's pretty much what I want to talk about this evening. And the fact that as a community, and I do mean the African American community here in Florence County, we have got to, ladies and gentlemen, go back to the old landmarks. We've got to go back to researching, fact finding, and stop allowing others to come in and tell us and our children what we ought to be doing. And I say that because somewhere along the way here, I'd say from the 90s through this time, it got into our community that somehow or another it was impolite and certainly not something that we should be talking about. You don't talk about politics and and you don't discuss religion in open communities. What? Um, Therefore, we have what I see too much of today, where as a community, we no longer bank on what the elders have shown us, they have taught us, they have left us these roadmaps on how to keep moving our community forward. And yet we have kind of pushed that to the side, and we are relying on social media and anything anybody else says. Um, Earlier today, my grandson, 23-year-old, told me, he says, Grandmama, did you hear about the poll? I said, a poll? And I said, you know how your grandmother feels about polls. He says, yeah, but, and he says, so I can tell you now, you're not going to like this one. He says they asked, on, I don't even remember which social media, TikTok or somebody. He said they took a poll, and they were asking, he says, just, anybody who came along, white folk, black folk, Hispanics, Chinese, just inclusive. And 99% of the people that they interviewed was asked if they were supporting Trump or President Biden for this general election. And 99% of them said Trump. And he said, and a lot of them, he says, a lot of them, Grandmama, were black folk. Now, y'all know by now, that kind of stuff bothers me to my core.
Well, let me say something here. As it relates to social media, as it relates to a lot of the polls, I often find that they can't be trusted. Some of these accounts are fake, so we cannot take that. And what really kind of bothers me a bit about it is because it allows people to spread misinformation. So I think we have to be careful when it comes to the information that we're sharing, particularly if we're getting it offline. We have to, like, what sources are these coming from?
Yes.
Look at more than one source. Go somewhere else. Try to find someone that is credible, because anyone can set up a poll. I could actually set a poll up. It is very, very easy to do. So the reason why I like being able to have this conversation with you and allow people to come into this classroom, allow them to have an opportunity to talk with an elder who knows politics, who has been a part of politics, because these are things that you should be doing at your kitchen table. You as a family should be doing this. So I don't know if I want to believe that poll. I'm not interested in it.
That's what I meant in the very beginning. We've got to go back to fact checking. You've got to research for yourself. You don't allow somebody to come along and tell you, this is what are the facts. Look at this. No, baby. And everything about us as a people supports the fact you don't take, and particularly social media. Who's pushing this? Who said this in the beginning? What else did you expect this particular group to find in their poll? And if you sit up and don't go back and find out at least who did the poll, how many
Exactly.
people did they poll?
I agree with you.
Yes, that's what I mean. They've gotta, we've gotta, we've gotta start training, just as you said, around that kitchen table. We've got to start getting our kids to discuss. Now, do you believe that? Why do you believe that? Based on what?
And I want to ask you this, because tonight is going to be you know, a little bit later this evening, in a couple hours, in fact, for the East Coast, there will be the presidential debate between
Yes.
Biden and Trump.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about what some of your expectations might be as it relates to this debate. Are there any particular things that you are looking to hear? And I ask you that because there are people who, you know, they have an agenda and they know exactly what they want, right?
Mhm.
And I want to know if that is the same for all parties, because it's very clear what the Republicans' interests are.
Yes.
I want to know if the Democrats are clear on what their wants are. Like, what are they looking to hear and to relate to from this debate? Let's talk a little bit about that.
You know that the debate tonight is actually being sponsored by CNN, and all of the other networks will, you know, come on their feed. And there will be no audience and only the two men in the room. And when one is speaking, the other's mic will be turned off. Now, if we think back or remember what the past debates have been like, Trump with Hillary Clinton, and then Trump with the President Biden. And each one of those became some kind of freak show. And very, very little was gained from certainly one of the candidates, and you, of course, know who that candidate was. That we got absolutely nothing but a performance, and nothing substantive, nothing about policy, nothing that was of benefit to we the people.
So do you feel like the way that, like, all of the rules and restrictions that they have for this particular debate, do you feel like that will give an opportunity for people to find out a little bit more? How do you think? Because I don't know that anyone within at least my generation, within my lifetime, that I remember being, you know, focused on presidential debates, that there's been anything like this before, where it's just the candidates. What do you think that might offer for this debate?
Well, what they were attempting to do was to try to have a debate this time by forcing both of the candidates to answer the questions asked. And you know, in the past, Trump has always interrupted, with Hillary Clinton. He kept walking up behind her and all over her shoulder and breathing, just immature and childish things are things that most of us would not expect from a presidential candidate. We're talking the highest office in the free world, the president of these United States of America. And to have this junior high class clown, I don't know any academics, performance was just not good. Yet the Republican Party at the end of both declared him winner. And if you are not paying attention, and if you are not thinking and doing your own research and fact checking, you'll fall for that too.
Well, I tell you what was really interesting, and I'm very interested to see this debate. I typically am. But what are some things you are looking to hear from our president that you think might resonate with the people? And I'm not just talking about us as Black people, because he is the president of the entire nation. So what do you feel like the people are looking to hear from the president? What message is he going to be able to get across? What do you think is important for him to get across to really have people, encouraged to vote, so that some of these polls that we're hearing about, whether they are accurate or not, what's going on? What are people looking to hear? How is he going to relate to the people? How is he going to get them to vote?
I think one of the things that the president must address this evening is his record, because far too many of us are unaware of what the man really has done in America for all of us. And because what the people want to hear is about cost, economics. Why is my grocery bill still as high as it is? Why is rent and mortgage payments, all of these things are high? Even people are still complaining about gas prices and the price of any of our commodities. Just last evening, as a PS here, I came back and went through the mail and saw my water bill. Ladies and gentlemen, for Maggie and for you, I intend to be at the next city council meeting, because I need explanation on why on this planet am I paying $80 for water in West Florence? Come on. No. I've complained because my last bill, the June bill, was $60, and now for this coming month to be paid by the 15th of July, The water bill is $80. Come on. And so these are the kinds of things that we, the people, need to hear addressed by the president tonight. And he needs to tell us about his college loan forgiveness program and what just happened last week. This president initially coming into office forgave 2 billion plus, and I am working on right now, because I have met and spoken with a number of students whose loans have been forgiven. And yet, people, they say he didn't do that. When just this past week, when it was time for the second round of those student loan forgiveness, Republicans, solely Republicans, blocked what would have been 1.6 trillion more in student loan forgiveness and repayment plans for our population of those people who have and still have for 20 years now student loan debt.
Well, I tell you this, I happen to know a number of people personally who have some student loan debt wiped out for them. And it has been very helpful for them, because you're talking about a bill that they no longer have, coming out of their budget.
Right. And stopping their credit, their ability to get anything else. Because if you had student loan debt, you could forget trying to get a loan, buy a house, or do anything, because that prevented you from being able to do that. And so this president forgave that. And this time, and if they could have done it the first time, they would have stopped that. But yet, he does not get credit. He does not get credit for that.
You're right. And then let's talk about women's reproductive rights. We're seeing things going on with affirmative action and DEI. Those are some very crucial topics that we should be discussing. We need to figure out what's going on, who's going to work with us, who's going to provide policies that are going to be better for all people. We're seeing people play with words. We're seeing so many things being, retracted. And I certainly don't think that they will stop there. And I don't know how serious people are taking it. And so,
again, no research. You are listening without fact checking and going back and looking up what is happening. The only president that is going to help us as women to restore our reproductive rights is Biden. Trump bragged about the fact that he was the president that overturned Roe v. Wade. And yet, people blame Biden. And again, because we no longer do what we have always been taught to do. You don't take somebody's word just because they said it. And you certainly don't run out here behind people that you know are not in your favor. $35 for insulin. He gets no credit. The lowest unemployment rate for African Americans in 60 some years. No credit. if you are riding down any of the interstates, 95 in particular, there is all kinds of bridge work and road work taking place in this country. That's because of Biden's Reconstruction bill passed when the first year of his election. And no credit is given. Those men and women who work those construction sites now make $35 an hour. And yet the man gets no credit. Black folk, our unemployment has not been this low in decades. And yet, no credit.
Well, let's talk about this because those are some very key things that I feel like definitely they need to be talking about.
Yes.
Those are your talking points. It's very simple. It's very easy to see. But there is something that I feel like we need to address as well, because we have so many people who are working. Okay, unemployment is lower, but we've got a working class poor. We've got people who are working for wages that haven't been adjusted in so many years. The wages are just not keeping up with the cost of living. So what do you think about the people who are out here working hard every day, working 40 plus, sometimes 50, 60 hours because they're having to work another job just to maintain their household? Now let's imagine this. Let's just imagine this here. You go to work every day, whether that is 1 or 2 jobs. And when you receive that check, you already know that you don't have enough money to cover all of your bills. So you have to make decisions.
Because $7.25 is still the minimum wage.
It's criminal.
It certainly, yes, it is. Yet, go back now, again, fact checking, researching. President Barack Obama did everything under the sun he could to try to pass $15 an hour. And Republicans would not allow that to happen. And the only reason Biden was able to get it done with the Reconstruction bill is he put it in there and did not advertise it. And they were able to get that passed. But think about people like Mitch McConnell, Kentucky, who did not vote for the Reconstruction bill. But when it passed and they were about to begin the construction work in Kentucky with the bridge, and I mentioned that bridge because it was the bridge from which students and people, when the day Dr. King was assassinated, I was at the University of Kentucky when that happened. And it was from that very bridge that students and just people in general gathered, and they threw everything imaginable from the sides of that bridge onto the people and traffic under it, angry about Dr. King. When that bill was presented, that bridge was one of the first things that was vetted to be completed, to be restored. And Mitch McConnell was there with Biden, talking about taking claim now that the bill is passed that he did not vote for, and many of the other Republicans didn't vote for. But when some project showed up in their district, they're grinning as if to say to the people, look what I'm doing for you. And no, you did not. But see, you have to research. You got to go back and fact check to find that out. And it's not hard to do. That same social media, Google it. They'll tell you to vote on anything. They'll tell you who voted and who did not.
Let's be honest. Let's just be completely honest with this. If people are not able to talk about politics, do you really feel like they are going to research policies, or do you feel like they're going to research bills? They're not. Let's be honest about that. That's why I think that there has to be better messaging. There has to be better marketing from the Democratic Party if their intention is to let people know what it is that they're doing. I feel like it is also a part of their responsibility. Yes, we have to do our homework. We should, yes. But it is also important for them to talk about the things that they are doing. Like, why are they afraid? Why would you not tell the people what is being done? I do not understand it. I cannot understand it. No one has been able to help me understand why the messaging is so poor.
Rupert Murdoch owns so much of the social media network. Think about who owns these news networks. They are Republicans. They play on their stations that which benefits them. That's why, again, just check out who owns the stations. They do that. They pay and they advertise. You can see Trump 24/7 because that's their guy. That's their guy. And if he trips, they make sure that's not aired. They show Biden, who is a stutterer and has perfected his speech to the point that, yes, he stutters occasionally, but that's all these networks will show you. A couple of weeks ago, when he was, I forgot the holiday myself now, but they showed Biden, basically all of the networks. He was there with the soldiers, and they were having the parachuters and all air raids, not raids, air shows and all there. And Biden had just spoken, and he turned around and they made it look like he was just wandering away from the crowd. And there was a young lady, a staff member, who went behind him and caught him and brought him back. And they kept showing that over and over and over again, talking about his age and how he was not capable of being the president and wandering off at an event. When the truth of the matter was, if they had just simply widened the screen, you would have seen that he turned around to talk to a group of parachuters who had just landed, and he was talking to them. But they were getting ready to ask him a question, is why the young lady went to get him. But the networks didn't want you to see that. They wanted you to see what they this feeble old man who's just wandering off into space. And they do that time and time and time again. And that was one time, because I agree with you, I'm not sure as Democrats we're doing enough again. And maybe we've got to also look at trying to find monies to come up with our networks so that we too can show what we need to show as they do.
I want to ask you this question because it is a money game.
It is.
It absolutely is. However, are you a little bit aware of the primary that went on in New York with Jamal Bowman?
I was about to bring that up too.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about a Democratic primary.
Yes.
And that was the most money. I think it was over $20 million spent in that primary for a Democrat. So what I want to say to you is that, so there is money, but there has to be an agenda. There has to be a plan. So how was that able to happen?
That was AIPAC that funded $20 million to get, and you know, that was about Israel. And this is, that was their PAC, their money to make sure that Bowman, who had spoken out quite loudly and forcefully about a full-fledged permanent stoppage of this war and what was happening in Israel.
I got you. But the larger point I wanted to make is that we can't always say that it's just Republicans who have money, because there is money out here. People are going to align their money with policies and things that they want with whatever, you know, whoever they feel is going to align with what it is. People vote for what they want. All right.
And that's exactly what happened to Bowman.
I get it. So I'm saying to you is, why aren't there other people? Like, why are they not saying what they want? I have not heard a strong case from anyone. If we've got some people, you know, I see some eyeballs out here watching. I see you all in the comments. You're saying hello, and hello to all of you. Thank you for listening. But do you have an agenda? Is there something that you want? You must know that. You must know. It has to be one thing. Do you want higher wages? Do you are you concerned about women's reproductive rights? Are you concerned about DEI? Are you concerned about so many different things that you want to turn back? We know that Republicans are, okay, it is about immigration. It is about keeping the guns. We are very clear about things that they want and that they align with.
And they pay for them. Yes.
Right. Now, I don't think that they're wrong. I think you should know what you want. And if you do, and
pay for it. Yes. And I'm with you 100%. We need to do the same. We've got to do the same. And like you said earlier, I don't think as a party that we are doing as much. But again, like I also said too, we don't own the networks as Republicans do. You know, if you look locally, we don't spend that kind of money. And in our last elections, you cannot have missed the amount of money that Republicans spent in a Democratic primary. And no, we were unable, or we didn't, I'll put it that way, we didn't match that. We didn't match that at all. And right now, nationally, we're not matching. We're not matching. And so that's why it becomes triply important that we, a Democratic people, we got to vote. We got to go back to the 2008, the first time that Barack Obama ran for president, when nationwide Black folk voted 95% of its registration. 95%. Even here in Florence, I know how hard we worked what we call in West Florence the bottom. And the bottom came out. There were lines around Carver School.
Do you think that we'll ever have those type of numbers again? Is it possible?
It is possible. Whether we will or not depends on how much they listen to us, to people like you, to people like Miss D's, to people, if they listen to Maggie at all. Because that's what it's going to take. As a people, we have got to understand democracy and everything that our ancestors gave their lives for us to enjoy. And we are indeed the beneficiaries of their work, their service.
While I respect that,
Mm-hmm.
and I certainly respect you, and I respect what you're saying, I'm just not sure that is a strong enough message anymore, Senator Glover. I just don't know that is strong enough.
Well, what would be strong enough then? Because see, that's where I'm confused. I don't know what my children. I'm not sure what moves them, and they are not telling us.
And that is why. And that brings us right back here as we're about to close. That brings this full circle to why we must talk politics. That is why we must have the conversation. The conversation is important. And that is the most important thing that I want to do, because I'm not here to necessarily tell people who to vote for. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in letting them feel their power and know that their vote matters, because you need to vote your interest.
Yes.
What are you interested in? I don't want to give you something that you should be interested in. I want you to know that. So
And
question
they
that.
must, yes.
And that starts with the conversation. We've got to talk about it. Stop believing this thing where we can't talk about politics. Why can we not? Us not talking about it has gotten us into the situation that I feel like we're in today. That is the problem.
It is. And it's not just Florence, it's not just South Carolina. This is nationwide, where our numbers are pathetic. Our numbers are pathetic across the board. And you know, we're saying stuff and doing stuff that to an old head like me just doesn't make any sense as to how you can honestly say, "Oh, you know, I'm voting for him because he gangster." Gangster. Uh, and please help me to understand, what did you individually, what did you get from the gangster?
I've got to say this. For me, you know, I like America. So to hear the messaging of make America great again, I'm not even sure what that is supposed to mean. Because if we're looking to be great, I don't understand how we could not feel embarrassed by having a candidate who is a 34 count felon, a
And
candidate,
a convicted rapist.
and also who has openly said that he wants to be a dictator.
Day one.
I don't know that is that American? Is that
No.
what's going to make America great? Is that the message that we are sending to the world? Like, what do we look like outside of this bubble? What do we look like outside to the rest of the world if
They're
this is what we're
scared
doing?
They're scared to death. That's what the president was told at G7 2 weeks ago by the other countries that are terrified, because if America, who right now with the greatest economy on the planet, even though we complain about how hard it is still, we're leading the world under this president and what he has been able to do. And yet, we're talking about a gangster who didn't do any of this.
But he's loud enough. The message is getting out there. People are clear about the things that they want and they're making it clear. So you can't be upset with that, because we're talking, look at how many good things you're saying right now about our sitting president. Our economy is good.
We lead the world.
Right.
Yes.
Unemployment for Black people has been incredibly low for a number of years.
Yes.
He happens to be a man of a certain family ethic.
Yes.
So many good. I hear us talking about things that sound good, things that I'd like to say sound great. However, the messaging for the side who wants to make it great again, I don't get. So that is why I say the message needs to be clear. The message is not getting out. It's just not getting out. And we can't continue to say, well, we don't have the money. We've watched Democrats in New York, unseat an incumbent and put someone in that they wanted to with their money. And I know that it was AIPAC, but still, what I want to say is that it's showing that it can be done. So for me, that race says a lot. And we'll probably have an opportunity to talk about this again, maybe the next time, because we've got a few more months before the election.
Then.
We do.
Yeah.
But what it says to me is, and what I'm looking at right now,
we got work.
We've got work. Well, we knew we had work before we started this conversation. We knew we had work, but this particular race, if people just want to look at it, it's not even about Republican or Democrat. That's not what that race says to me. That race says to me, what do you want? Put your money behind it. That's what that says to me. So this is a money game. I don't know how much longer we're going to be fighting this Republican and Democrat thing. And we've got to think about people. You know what I mean? So I hope we'll get an opportunity to talk about that next time. As we wrap this up, is there any last thing that you'd like to say or leave with people?
Yes. I need each one of us to honestly stop, reassess me. What am I? Individual. I don't look at anybody else. Don't look around the room. You. What am I? What am I doing to make sure my children, my community lives and lives a good life? What am I doing? Who have I told what needs to happen? Because that's what our democracy and our Constitution says. We, the people. We, the people, have the power. We, the voter, we got the power. And I need every voter, each one of the voters, to honestly, what have I said and done that's going to make this work the way I need it to work for me and mine? That's what I need. That's what I need from each and every person who hears us tonight, is to think about what you can do.
All right. I certainly think that's fair. And I hope you all took that in. You know, we just had an open conversation. You need to be able to hear some different things. And don't listen. Don't even believe what you heard here. What's the thing you always say, Senator Glover? Google that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Fact check.
Google
Right.
that.
You don't take just because we said it. Oh, that's the first thing I said tonight. Fact check. Yes, and if nothing else, Google that.
I love when you say that. That's
Yes.
like my favorite time when we get into a conversation. Google that.
Yes.
All right, guys. You heard it. Have this conversation. Have these front porch conversations. Have these kitchen conversations. Wherever you are, your friend groups, you got to talk about it. You got to know what you want. We, the people. You know?
Yes.
Your vote matters. It matters. If it didn't matter so much, so many people wouldn't be interested in taking it away. So many people wouldn't be interested in having you be disappointed in politics. And I know that a lot of you are disappointed in politics. Certainly, I get it. But I don't think that we are living in a time where we can afford to be disappointed. We've got to make decisions. And sometimes we have to make decisions that are a little tough. You have to think beyond the immediacy of what's going on. You got to think even beyond the 4 years of whichever one of these candidates go in, because it's a lame duck situation. Neither one of them will be able to do anything beyond these 4 years. So you've got to think about the power that they will have to put judges, to appoint judges. You've got to think about that. When you're looking at our Supreme Court right now, it is a mess. Can we make the Supreme Court great again, or can we make it better? Can we increase it? Can we find a way of holding them responsible for some of the things that they're doing, and they're really just kind of representing themselves and doing what they want? How did we get here? So don't be so disappointed. Start making decisions. Start figuring out what you want. Start aligning yourself with a candidate who is closer to some of those things. You're not going to get everything. You're not going to agree with everything. You don't agree with everything
your mama says.
Thank you. You don't agree with your mama all the time. And mamas, you don't agree with your kids all the time. You just don't. You don't even agree with your boss all the time, but you go to work and you
Yes.
do what you have to do to collect your checks so that you can take care of your family. So if you can do that, you can make a decision to vote for a person who closely lines with some ethics that you believe in, who is going to put you in a better position to do better in the future.
Somebody who will give you
and
more
not
than $7.25 per hour. And there's only one candidate that is interested in doing that. You need to know who that is.
and someone who is interested in giving you something and not taking things away. All right. That's all I got, Miss Glover. I didn't mean to get on a little,
Go right ahead. It was good to me.
I didn't mean to,
Yes, indeed. Well, this is how this goes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, good people. We've
Good
had a
night.
conversation. All right. All right, y'all. Tune in next time. We come here the last Thursday of the month, the Heritage Homeschool. We want to make sure that you are going to be informed because there are certain things that you cannot depend on anybody else to teach you. This is stuff that you won't learn in school, but you can learn it at home. And home is the first place of education. All right, y'all. Do what you got to do. Make some good decisions out here. One love, y'all.